I decided to do my presentation on my ideal future career path. I want to be an English teacher in France one day, so it's pretty international, I guess. When I was 11, my dad's job with Michelin moved our family to France, which is why there's this awkwardly close-up picture of a girl with a flag on her face. We got sent to a town called Clermont-Ferrand, which is right in the heart of France, about 4 hours south of Paris, and there's just tons of international people there, mainly because of Michelin. It's just hugely international with so many diverse people, which is kind of what attracted me to it in the first place, because you learn so many different things about everybody. This is Clermont at night. There's a huge, beautiful black cathedral in the center of town, and there's this amazing graffiti all downtown. It's surrounded by volcanoes. You can see down there, it's called the Puy de Dôme. And in the left-hand corner, you can't see it, but back there is Université Blaise Pascal, which is where I would ideally want to be teaching. Really, from the second that the plane kind of touched the ground, I knew that I wanted to live there forever, just because it was so amazing. And even when I was 11, I knew that I wanted to do something with English. It was never really a question of doing anything else, so I kind of started planning my career path when I was that young. This is a picture of my middle and high school that I went to. It's called Massillon, and it was partly French and partly international. So because of my grade level, I was put in a lot of French classes. I had science and French, and oddly enough, I ended up having all my English classes in French with a French teacher and with French students. So it was basically the English classes you would have here, only taught mostly in French. And that was my French teacher, Monsieur Chabozy, and some of the French students. We had such an amazing class. We read a ton of English books and short stories, partly in English and partly in French, because a lot of the students weren't quite fluent yet. And that's him again, being kind of silly. But by grade 9, we were starting to read like some Shakespeare and stuff. And because the students didn't have that great of English skills, we read a lot of it in French, which was really challenging for me. But it just proved to be really interesting. We would just kind of discuss it in French. These are just examples of books. We would discuss it in French afterwards, and it was challenging, but it was amazing. And I decided that I wanted to be what Monsieur Chabozy was for me, which is an English lit teacher in France. So I moved back to the States after I finished grade 9, and I decided to come to USC Upstate because I had heard that they had a really good education program, and all my sisters had gone here. And if everything goes according to plan, I will graduate in May 2011 with my secondary education for English degree. While here, I took a whole bunch of Survey of French Literature classes with Dr. Danielle Rackidel. I don't know if you guys have had the pleasure of having her as a teacher. But my classes were kind of different. There was only 2 other students in there. And we read a whole bunch of really complicated French literature. We read Rabelais and Marivaux, and it was just really interesting, and that's Dr. Rackidel. We kind of discussed everything in French, and it really reminded me and set me back to wanting to go to France and basically do what Dr. Rackidel did for me here, which is teach students that aren't native speakers of the language you're wanting to teach in, and teach them literature and bring it over there. When I graduate from Upstate, I would like to gain teaching experience at an American high school first, like this one. This is actually the school I graduated from, Hillcrest. I actually used to call it Hellcrest. So I hope that it's more fun to be a teacher there than it was being a student there. Afterwards, I would really love to move to France and get my maîtrise, which is the French equivalent of a master's degree in English literature, and then hopefully be able to teach at a French university. Thank goodness French university and graduate school are pretty much free, even for students who aren't French, so that's really nice. This is just a picture of a French university. I'm not actually sure where it is, but I just love it. I love how old they are, and I love how international they are, so I would just really love to teach at one day. Ideally, I'd want to teach at Université de Pascal or Université de Lyon, which are both in and around where I lived in France. This is a picture of the Sorbonne in Paris. I don't know if you guys know what that is. It's a really old, prestigious university. Just kind of threw it in there because I'm probably definitely never going to be able to teach at a place like this Sorbonne, but it's a really neat idea. These are just more examples of the kind of literature I would love to bring over there, because French students really aren't all that interested in learning English literature, and it's something that's really interesting to me, so I would just love to bring it over there. While I'm getting my maîtrise, I would love to teach English as a second language or take some kind of course in it so that I can learn how to teach basic English and go about teaching students basic English before they start having to read really complicated things in it. And reading difficult things like Shakespeare is really hard for them because at Massillon, my teacher eventually had me explaining things like Romeo and Juliet to the students in French, which was really nerve-wracking, and discussing it in French is no easy task. And I remember how hard it was to discuss something like English literature in French in front of a bunch of native speakers. So I really respect you, Yingling, for that, because it is really difficult. And I want my future French students to gain more knowledge about English literature and the English language in general, and for them just to gain the confidence to talk about it out loud and be interested in it. And I want to inspire my future students, like Monsieur Chavazy inspired me when I was taking his English class, because that's really, in effect, what made me want to really be an English teacher in Europe in the first place. The Eiffel Tower is just representative of the super international career path that I would ideally want to lead, and how much I want to further my English career into a foreign country like France and maybe all over Europe, and eventually bring English literature to French students.